Hi, this is Foodie Hemsel, and this week I'm going to be cooking spicy tomato soup from the South Charnwood recipe book. For this recipe, spicy tomato soup, you will need 1 onion, 1 carrot, 1 potato, 1 can of chopped tomatoes, 500 ml of water, 1 stock cube, half a teaspoon of dried chilli flakes, and 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. The equipment you will need is a clean chopping board, a sharp knife, a peeler, a can opener, a wooden spoon, a saucepan, and also a ladle. A measuring jug would also be helpful, as this would be helpful for measuring out your water. You'll also need a tablespoon and a teaspoon. Okay, so the recipe requires an onion, which you need to peel and slice your onion. So you need to decide whether you're using a cooking onion or whether you're using, such as a Spanish onion, or whether you're using a red salad onion. The onion is there for obviously flavour. The red onion is much sweeter as it's a salad onion. So you need to decide when you're making your spicy tomato soup, do you want to add that extra sweetness to it? Okay, so I'm going to use my spicy tomatoes in my spicy tomato soup. I'm going to be using a cooking onion, so I'm going to put this one to the side. Okay, in order to prepare your onion, you need to take off the top of your onion so that the roots are still dangling like there. The roots are there obviously for sucking up any minerals out of the soil and putting all the goodness into the onion. So we want to keep that on. The reason we keep that on is so that we keep the onion attached as much as possible. Okay, notice I'm not doing this. It takes forever doing this, and I got taught once on a license to cook course, and also Let's Get Cooking, the technique of cutting an onion as easily as I know how. Okay, so you're using your bridge method to cut through the root of your onion. Okay, so you've cut it in half, because if for whatever it rocks, then it's wrong. But cutting it this way obviously provides you with a flat surface. So I'm going to take off not only the paper layer, but also that's been under the soil. I'm also going to be taking the next layer as well, because otherwise it becomes quite rubbery. And if you put your thumb underneath, you can take it off all in one go, which is quite smart. Okay, so not that layer, but also the next layer on top. And that can be composted. Okay, so just moving all my roots off the board. Okay, so with your root facing away from you, using your bridge method, you're going to put vertical lines down into your onion, but not going through your root. Okay, keep your vertical lines as close together as possible. Then you're going to be turning 90 degrees, and you're going to be then holding it with your claw method, so keeping your fingers out of the way, until you're left with the root, which can also be composted. So that's going over that side of the board. Okay, so the next stage is you're going to top, tail, peel and slice your carrot. Okay, so we're going to use your claw method to take off both the top and the bottom of your carrot. That can be composted. And then I'm going to use my tea peeler to peel half of my carrot. I'm doing it away from me so that I don't catch my wrist. And once you've been all the way around the carrot, you turn your carrot over so that you can do the lower half. all of that can be composted. Next stage, you are going to slice your carrot. Hold it steady and don't forget to drag your fingers back. Try not to do your carrot slices too big either, because that will take longer to cook. So the carrot, I was just thinking about this, is there for flavour, as in its sweetness, and also there for colour, because it provides the carotene which makes it go that orangey yellow colour that can go into your saucepan. Okay, so the next stage, it's calling for a potato. So the potato provides starch, which is going to cause your soup to thicken. You won't see that until you actually come right to the end and when it's blended. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is peel my potato. Again, you can use a tea peeler or you can use the everyday peeler. Okay, try and do it away from you as much as possible. If you see any bruising or any cuts in the potato, these can be taken off just with a knife at the end. If potatoes are muddy at the start, it's better to wash them, but these have been pre-washed. So I'm looking for any marks or anything on the potato. That's quite a good potato. It's nice, the shiny bit and the juice coming out onto the board, which is starch. Okay, so you're going to use your bridge method to cut your potato in half, so it's got a nice flat surface, and then you're going to use your bridge method to cut in half and then cut in a quarter. I'm doing the same with the other half, a bridge to in half and a bridge again for your quarter. If you wanted to speed up your cooking time, you can cut your potato again, bridge method, bridge method, bridge method, bridge method. Okay, so I've actually got 16 pieces of potato there. If you wanted to cut them smaller, that's entirely up to you. So into my saucepan it goes. Okay, so just thinking about this again, so thinking about what other potatoes you could have used. I could have used a sweet potato with the name yam. Okay, sweet potatoes are quite good because whatever you can see, there's an orangey colour in there again with the carotene, and again it's got the starch for thickening, and it would produce a sweeter taste because whatever, it's a sweeter potato. Okay, I'll put that to the side. Okay, so for the next stage, it's asking for all of the other ingredients to be put into the saucepan. Okay, so I'm going to start with my can of tomatoes first of all. I could use a can opener, however this is quite neatly got a ring pull on it. So by putting your nail just underneath, you're going to lift it up, push it away, and then you're going to use the ring pull to pull towards you. Do be really, really careful because this part is very, very sharp. Okay, so my can of tomatoes can go into there. So it's now calling for 500 mils of water. So with my 500 mils of water, what I could do is I've measured it out already, in order to wash the can out as well, I could actually pour some of my water into my can, which will wash my can out at the same stage. Okay. That can now go into recycling. So the water is there to give a volume, to give quantity to the soup. Okay, it also thins it down so that its viscosity is much thinner than if we were to not add any water at all. It also gives my tomatoes, my chopped tomatoes will also give flavour. So I need to add 1 tablespoon of tomato puree. So you can be as generous as you like. Okay, with that tablespoon. So again, it's going to give colour, and it's going to give flavour. So it talks about using a vegetable stock cube. Vegetable stock cube would make it vegetarian up to this stage and even vegan, because I haven't used any dairy products at all. So this Octo cube is quite good because it crumbles. However, if you haven't got a stock cube that crumbles, my suggestion would be to put your stock cube into with some boiling water to dissolve it and then make it up to 500 millilitres of water at that stage. Okay, so this is foil, so again can be recycled. Just a quick note about vegetable stock cubes. They do, however, contain a lot of sodium, otherwise known as salt. So just keep a careful eye on how many stock cubes you're actually using. Okay, so for this recipe, it requires half a teaspoon of chilli powder or chilli flakes. So there, like so. And you could add, for seasoning, you could add some pepper. And if you wanted to, you could add some salt. I'm going to mix it up a little bit because I'm going to add a teaspoon of oregano as well, which will inevitably give flavour. Okay, so the next stage is asking you to bring your ingredients to the boil in your saucepan. So I'm going to turn it up to maximum heat. Make sure the size of your saucepan is the similar size to the size of your ring. This one, yes, it's big, whatever would probably do for a frying pan because it's a lot wider, whereas this one, whatever kind of works or whatever with the size of it. So I'm using a wooden spoon rather than a plastic spoon because we don't want to melt the plastic spoon. Okay, so I'm just going to put my gas on. A bit different to school. And release. Okay, so it tells me to stir everything and to bring it to the boil. Okay, so you can see my soup has now come to the boil. It's rapidly bubbling. And what it asks you to do now is simmer for 20 minutes. So that means gently bubbling and then put your timer on for 20 minutes. So I've turned my heat down and I've put my timer on for 20 minutes. Okay, so while it's bubbling away, you can be thinking about, coming up in September, you've got your science investigation to do. So thinking about what methods, first of all, of heat transfer I'm actually using to cook my soup. So we've got conduction because there's touch going on with the saucepan to the gas flame. And we've also got hot air rising. So we've also got convection taking place. So thinking about what would happen and why we're actually putting heat on there, we started off with very hard vegetables and thinking about after 5 minutes, thinking about how the vegetables are actually changing. So the vegetables are starting to cook all the way through. The soup is starting to look, the viscosity has changed and it's gone a lot thicker. And the potatoes are starting to soften up and to release that starch. Okay, I'm still at a gentle bubble. Okay, so the next stage is once the 20 minutes have gone, you need to allow your soup to cool a little before putting it into your blender or your NutriBullet, because otherwise it will explode. Okay, so the next stage is you're going to use either a NutriBullet or a food processor or a blender okay, which will get different results of whether you go from lumpy to smooth. So I'm going to be going for the smooth option. I'm going to put that into my NutriBullet. And as I said before, you need to put a cloth over the top just so I've divided my soup into 2 parts. Be careful when you release the lid, just so it doesn't explode. I'm going to do the second part the same. So you can either return it to the saucepan to warm it through, or you can cool it down, but make sure the heat is totally out of it before returning it to somewhere like a fridge, because otherwise you will raise the temperature in your fridge and whatever you may cause either your fridge to break or other foods to get so warm that you end up with food poisoning. Okay, so you need to keep your fridge down to in between 0 and 4 degrees. So let the temperature of your soup go totally out of your container before you put it in there. Thank you for watching.